you guys talk about Hebrews, the more you legitimate or legitimize what they speak of. If what they say isn't true, then let it fall by the wayside. And I would love to do so. As a matter of fact, partly I was kind of doing so. Here's the problem, though. It's gaining traction and it's becoming more and more appealing to people. The more you turn on TV and the more the world tells you that all of these different groups are disenfranchised, and what you end up doing is you create more frustration, more anger, more hate. And so you give them an outlet because they may still believe in God. And so here's the God, and here's how you get to him. And based on your race, the reason why you've had these things happen to you is because there's this hatred of the devil towards you and your skin and so forth and your lineage. And that becomes appealing. I don't know how old you are, Justin, but some of us who are old enough to remember when Roots came out, none of us that we knew, nobody knew anybody that was a slave or a former slave master. But I can promise you a whole lot of black folks got angry because it was something that, we can identify with this. Well, this same little movement is happening, and more folks who are being told that they are disenfranchised, who are being told that they've got a reason to be angry or frustrated. Now we've got a religious group that you can become a part of. And notice the one thing about every cult, and I call it a cult, every cult does that. It latches on to someone's emotional or frustration, and in doing so, it appeals to people who think that. And so it's a growing group of people, and they're causing harm in the body. We've got to let folks know about the wolves, whether they be wolves who call themselves Christians or wolves who call themselves Hebrew Israelites. So that's the reason for that, Justin.
All right, but can I show you maybe we got a couple more clips, but I also want to let me show one thing where you see Christianity misrepresented. If you could play the last clip.
The last clip, that would be 5. No, 6.
6, yeah.
Can't do it. When you look at the history of Christianity, it actually started in the 3rd century by the Roman Emperor Constantine. But prior to that, how it actually came into being was all of these northern countries like the Vikings, the Wessex, the Scandinavians, the Saxons, and all of these people, when they were raiding England and all this, they ended up merging with England, and they end up becoming the Church of England. And the Church of England got its start because of the Roman Catholic Church. The Romans were actually one time militarily a great empire. They went from being a great empire to religious. And that's where the Roman Catholic Church comes. So now the Roman Catholic Church is the big grand poobah of Christianity. And so if you are obeying what Christianity says, such as obeying the sun worship of Sunday, if you are celebrating their holidays, Christmas, Easter, Sunday, and all this, well, if you're going to be obedient to Yah, he has instructions for.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
it was so crazy. It was so crazy. It knocked Vocab off his seat. Okay, so history is not their strong suit, clearly.
Well, they would say that's the true history. And one, immediate mistake, and we all can all make mistakes, but he said started in the 3rd century. Mm-hmm. Well, Constantine's activity was in the 4th century. Yeah. The early 4th century. So 325 AD, for example, someone's asking, what did he say wrong? Well, 325 AD was the Council of Nicaea, when a lot of conspiracy theorists try to say Christianity began, and they'll tie it there when they tie it to Constantine as he invented Christianity. Well, 325 is early 4th century. It's not the 3rd century. 3rd century would be in the 200s. So just, a basic error there. But, that's simply not true. And
we have this problem, and I it bothers me. There is no, as we say, you can't fix stupid. It'd be one thing if you just say something intentionally. It'd be one thing if you say something wrong that's unintentional. I'm not sure what's going on here, but you need to at least look at history. And we have this problem where, listen, I'm no fan of the Catholic Church, but we blame 2 people on everything: the Catholic Church and Constantine.
Right.
We've literally, guys, we've got writings, we have early church fathers' writings that predate these people, that predates the
Right.
Catholic Church, the organization, as
Sure.
well as Constantine by a couple centuries, guys. And so we can always go back and just do the history, just do the research, not even just Christian, just history, period. It is ridiculous. Documents in early Christian thought. Do I have that?
I'm just showing some examples where we can see what early Christians said literally in their own words. And a lot of these are prior to Constantine. So regardless of if he got the 4th century, 3rd century thing wrong or not, we can go back and see what they believed and taught. And guess what? They taught, sorry for the out of focus, that Jesus was God. They did not teach that Jesus was created. That's what Nicaea was about, was that belief correct that Arius was promoting and pushing, and it was unanimous. 316-2 is the understanding of the vote. It was almost unanimous that Jesus was homoousios, not homoiousios, meaning of the same substance of the Father, meaning that he and the Father are both divine and uncreated, not that Jesus was created, because the Arians taught that Jesus was created. So 325 Nicaea was not about all these other things. It was primarily about the deity of Jesus Christ. And you can go back and read these early Christian doctrines, and sometimes you can read a compendium like this, or you can read one like this, The History of Christian Doctrines. These are really good books, Dictionary of Early Christian Beliefs, and you can see what they say, and it's not true that this thing was invented. You know, you read the Epistle to Dionysius, and you see, oh, this is justification by faith alone, by grace alone. It's all throughout the Epistle to Dionysius. And you can see it right there. And so that we're not acting like every early Christian church writer agrees 100% with us now. They're their own people in their own time, in their own context. What I'm just saying is, though, it wasn't Christianity invented by Constantine or something like that. All these things had already been talked about and discussed, and a lot of times settled, albeit not officially, because we had persecution at that time. And so it's just a false narrative. Are we acting like there wasn't a thing called the Holy Roman Empire later on? Are we acting like Constantine and later Roman emperors didn't do anything at all? No, we're not going to say that. You know, we can read books, for example, Eusebius, Ecclesiastical History, and we can read other sources and find these things out, but we don't want to make stuff up, is what I'm saying. And there you get it. So Christianity's pagan, it's invented by Constantine. It's not true. For example, the doctrine of the Trinity. The doctrine of the Trinity was laid out way before Constantine, and Nicaea didn't even discuss the Trinity. So that's not what it was about. For example, you have Tertullian, African church father, using the Latin word Trinitas in 212 AD.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Stop the presses. Hold on.
What?
Did you just call Tertullian African?
Well, he is an African church father, yeah.
So he
That's
was,
right.
so really? So you mean tell me there were some black folks? I'm kidding. I
got you. No, I mean, actually,
that.
Besides, once Jerusalem fell, 70 AD, early on, before that, the Jerusalem church was very important, and probably second most, the Antioch church in Syria are some very important early centers of Christianity. But as things moved out and spread out, the North African church was by far where all the action was happening. Even Nicaea was called because of theological debates between two in the context of an African church. Alexander of Alexandria, and he had a sort of an understudy who was named Athanasius, who later on took up the mantle for Jesus' deity, versus Arius. And so it's in a North African church context, Alexandria, specifically Egypt, that this is even happening. And same thing with the Docetist controversy the Donatist controversy primarily is African, and that's why you have Augustine years later, another African church father, writing on it. So the North African church is incredibly important, and there's some evidence that Mark, for example, the Apostle Mark, even went there to Africa and did some important things there. There's a good book about it by Thomas Oden. And even in the book of Acts 18, 24 through 28, Apollos comes from Alexandria. It says a Jew from Alexandria came, debated everybody in public, and then later on was important to the Corinthian church. And that's why he pops up in the opening chapters of that as well. He's not the only one. Of course, Ethiopia, the eunuch, was also from Africa. So that is important to remember. And, those folks would have been considered Gentiles by the people living in Jerusalem, but they were able able to be part of the bigger people of God. And the problem with the IUIC version of Hebrew Israelism is it excludes people. And even Dowell folks recognize that.